have lived and died in that 51-year span looking for a better day. And I'm sure those three young men, and I've heard some comments made on the radio about them, they were quite intelligent and industrious young men, from what I heard, the reports coming in. And we need to have more of our young men doing industrious things. We've got to keep them alive too. So we have to exercise caution and restraint. Understand the road was wet when this accident occurred around 2 a.m. in the morning. And whether there was speed involved in it, the police will have to investigate in that and see what the results were. So we won't preempt them. But just the loss of 3 young men, plus the one in the United States, that's a total of 4. That means national insurance can't collect no money from them. We cannot afford to keep losing our young men. And I heard one of the ministers of the government mention that. We have to find a way to keep them alive. Now, how we can do that? We're going to have to change some behavioral patterns. We're going to have to exercise caution and restraint. Now, young people don't look at things the way perhaps the older generation will look at it. And that's understandable. But we are supposed to have a more intelligent group of young people. That's what they tell me now. They're supposed to be well educated. They're supposed to be intelligent. They're supposed to have knowledge and understanding. Now, whether they got wisdom, that's a whole horse of a different color. But we do have young people with tremendous potential. They are what is called the future of the country. But if we keep losing them like this, we ain't gonna have no future. Or somebody else will be here to take up that space. And I don't think we want that. We want us to see a succession from father to son to grandson to great-grandson and right on down the line, where the children bury the parents. But now you have today where parents are burying the children, and sometimes the grandparents are burying the grandchildren. So that's a right mix-up thing right up in there. We have to deal with that. So I'm going to say to our young men, you need to exercise caution and restraint. Take your time when you're going out. Don't be rushing and trying to get from point A to point B. And, you know, the possibility always exists with human beings that they can make an error. They can make a mistake. And it can be fatal. In this particular case, it was fatal. 2 are dead on the spot and then 1 died in the hospital. Very tragic. And I express my sympathy to the Christie family for what has happened. I thought about it just yesterday, and I hope I may be able to make contact with that family. See if I could get an interview with them. But the point is, we have so many things happening, tragic things, and also some positive things are happening, but we don't get any news or anything positive. Why is that? Why is it that we are not accentuating that which is positive among our young people? And things in our community, things that people are doing, or just the bad news make headlines. But we can change it. The question is, do we want that? We can make the necessary changes that are essential to improve the quality of life of our people. So we have to make some serious decisions as to what it is we're prepared to do. Are we prepared to let things continue as they are? I hope not. We have had too many things happening which is not in the best interest of the Bahamian people. We have an invasion of foreigners, not just the Haitians, the Chinese, and people from the Philippines, people from all these different nations coming into the Bahamas. And everybody want to take up space here. Whereas they have their own nation. That's why God cut it up where each nation has its own territory, its own space on the planet. But you have some people who are leaving their nation and going in some other people's nation. And of course, there's this conflict with Hamas and the Israelis, and the Prime Minister of Israel wants to wipe them off the face of the earth. That is his intent. I did no more stress last night. Now, there are some whose families are involved in who have been kidnapped. And of course, the latest I heard was some 6 souls, one was an American, were found dead in a tunnel. They were slaughtered. And it would appear as if the Israeli forces are getting close to rescuing them. These wicked people murder their hostages. That's the report that has been coming across my desk. And that is a sad thing. That is why the Prime Minister is not interested in negotiating with them. You don't negotiate with killers. There's only one thing you do with them, is you get rid of them. Then you got to worry about them no more. But as long as they draw breath on the face of the earth, they will be a threat, unless, of course, they repent of their sins. And they don't know what that is. Some people are so hardened in their heart, they're not prepared to change. They're not interested in changing. So there's only one thing, is you got to get rid of them. We have some 86 murders, I think, in our country so far for the year that we know about now. The murder rate is extremely high for a small country like the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Bahamas, we got to fix that. Why is it that so many young men are killing one another? Why? What's the reason for that? I think we have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there? Caller, I'm not hearing you. We're live on air. Mr. Blues, I'm not hearing anything. I guess we'll have to move on. Caller, you there?
Professor.
Yeah, what'd you say, man?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. How are you today?
Great, man.
What's happening with these murders, man? We got 86.
I just called to ask you.
Yeah, but see, I was saying that we have to find a way to help our young men. We lost 3 in a car accident. The Christie families lost 3. I hope I can do an interview with them. Also, we lost 1 in the United States. And they call a rollover something, whatever that's supposed to mean. I don't understand that. But that's 4 young men dead. That means national insurance can't collect no money from them. You know that? Our fund is going to be in jeopardy because I want to get my check every month now. I can't lose my check. I work for that. You want to get yours, yours too. So I want to keep getting my check every month since they started out. I've been getting it every month. And I get concerned when I hear the loss of these young men. That's really concerning to me. Go ahead, caller.
But Professor, I think, well, I guess they got to be more careful in driving, be more vigilant on the street and that time in the morning.
This happened 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, the road was, I wouldn't try to add on or put on because I don't know. But so the police said that the road was still wet and slippery and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
And so I guess since we wasn't there, we just gotta maybe just take the advice from the police.
No, well, we would go. I won't add anything to it. I'm just going by reports that came across my desk. The understanding is that they were going, I think, north.
Yeah, north.
And then he ran into a tree. He went off the road, ran into a tree, and that was a tremendous smash up. 2 died on the spot. That was a tremendous hit. And then the other one, who was in the back seat, he was taken to hospital, but he died. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we would leave it at that and let the police investigate what
my respect.
Yeah.
to the family.
Yeah, I am saddened by what happened. But,
Yeah,
hopefully, I'll be able to talk to them. I'll ask them if they're prepared to speak. And if they're willing, well, then fine. If they're not, then we say, okay, we'll move on.
exactly.
Yeah.
I see everybody talking about this financial, the funds that government or these people, what they get from big business people and stuff like that. It's Mr. Pentad always saying, well,
Oh, you're talking about monies to political parties?
yeah,
Oh, I can talk about that today now.
he always saying, oh, we get, yeah, y'all get, tell me who y'all get it from. And I'll tell you who we get it from. Well, the Prime Minister say, you get it from the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
Yeah.
Now, if you know where they get their own from, you could probably say the same thing.
Of course.
Since you want tit for that, you could say the same thing, but you get your own from John Doe or stuff like that.
I heard them say that if the PLP administration declare where they get theirs from for their political party, then the F&M will declare where they get theirs from too. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, but I didn't hear that.
No,
But,
I heard that very clear. Sands,
Okay.
the man who is, what the man is the chairman of the F&M, Dr. Dwayne Sands. He said that.
uh-huh.
And he said some other things too, which I have to get a copy of that so I could scrutinize it.
And now that is why you can see that big companies that control government, because we give you all this, now you're gonna do this for us. That is the reason why
So
Mr. Pentad maybe wasn't coming out to the Port Authority.
let's put it this way. The money goes to the party, right? As we understand, the money goes to them.
Right.
So that means those party officials benefit from that.
They shredded that.
Now let's look at it this way. The people who are voting in the election, what do they get? What is the benefit for them? Can you hear me, caller?
Go ahead.
What is the benefit for them?
Well, I think it's stripped it down, eh? I think they got give it to some of the weaker links, like buy the little whistle and little different things and have your little party and different things.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff
see,
like that.
this is why we need to have things clear cut so that we do not have foreign entities involved in our election affairs. They're not supposed to be involved in our national affairs.
Right.
So we have to have stiff laws in place which would prevent this from happening, because neither these two entities, these two political parties, are interested in declaring anything.
Exactly.
All right? We already see that. That's the evidence you have. 51 years they had an opportunity to do it in an independent nation. They never did it.
Right.
So when you think they can do it, they can do it ever.
Right.
This is why they're playing this ping pong ball. You knock it to me, I knock it to you, and so on. The big man at the Port Authority told us in no uncertain terms, they give on both sides. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So but now how much money? Well, we don't know. So it's very difficult to say. And they ain't declaring what they get.
No, they ain't never declare that.
Okay, well, we don't see that. So the electorate now has to make a determination.
Right.
You got 51 years as an independent nation, and these two political parties, just like I used the two last elections, one got 35 seats out of 39. This one that's there now got 32 out of 39. So you've had the two major parties who are sitting in that house right now have had the opportunity, without any kind of interruption, to deal and solve all of the major problems in this country. So what are they waiting for? There's no one blocking them. They got the power in their hand.
They get the power.
So what are they doing with it?
They see. That's the reason why I don't understand with government who are in control.
They have
They
all
get
the
the power
control.
to do anything.
There's nothing stopping them.
It's just too much of talking and stuff like that. But I understand. I don't know if you already apply. Dr. Dwayne Sands said, if you want to run for the party, you will have to go into a training class.
Oh, I can talk about that
I
too.
don't know if you applying for that.
No, but I have to speak about that because this is what the man tell me. You can't let him get away with that.
Um,
Didn't somebody else come up with the same crap?
so, but
Caller,
what's this?
caller, listen to me. Didn't
Go
someone
ahead.
else come up with the same crap?
Yeah,
Okay, then, all right.
but watch this. You only need 39 individual, right?
Yes.
So why are you gonna waste people time with 100 people put their heart in the run, going to this training class?
Training to do what?
I don't know. They know. Don't believe that they don't know who they want to run. But see, what they are doing this so it wouldn't be no bad feelings when I come to you, Brother Sidney, man, I don't want to run for you, but you can say, first thing you can say, well, it was a training class and I didn't really have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
The people them who was teaching you all is them.
But let's put it this way. When it comes to choosing a parliamentary representative, that has nothing to do with the party.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. That is a constitutional exercise by who? The constituents, the registered constituents, the
Exactly.
electors in
Right.
a given constituency. It has absolutely nothing to do with a political party. You know why? Because the political party puts up an unfit candidate, as we have seen over the last 51 years,
Exactly.
in these communities, and they talk about they got base. They may
No,
have base for their party,
my,
but when it comes to choosing a parliamentary representative, see, I got to go deep into this one.
yeah,
When it
man.
comes to choosing a parliamentary representative, that has absolutely nothing to do with the
Exactly.
political party. Go ahead, caller.
Exactly. And you, my last 2 points.
Yeah.
The okay, the hurricane shelter that was built in Abaco.
Well, that's another thing again.
Now, come on, man. I will believe I'm not the sharpest knife inside the drawer, and I ain't the dullest one.
Calling you something else, you know.
But I can't understand why you didn't have inspectors coming to inspect this work step by step.
Maybe the inspectors don't know their job either.
Now, I am not blaming the F&M because this contract was passed out under the F&M, but this government is continue. Government here should allow those people to inspect, but they allow these people to go working and working, and it's like allegedly nobody. It's like checking for nothing. It's only when I putting up one 2-bedroom home, you'll see them always coming to check, see if the steel right. Come see if this right. But look at these big places. Look at
The
the Aaron Bailey.
Aaron
We have
Bailey
the
roof
same.
fall in,
Yes.
and this roof on the shelter in Abaco fall in.
Okay.
So what does that tell you?
Nobody's checking.
Exactly.
Now my last point is the hurricane, the dome, or the trailers, not the dome.
Yeah.
The trailers. Why they didn't? These people been in there for 5 years. Now the Haitian man, I'm not Bahamian man. What I hear, the Haitian man is crying, saying he don't have no place to go.
Yeah, I heard the
Don't
same
these
thing.
people understand? No, or no one tell them you're only here for a period of time. Why they didn't tell these people you're only gonna be here for a year or 2 years? Now they come and say they gotta be out of this place next month. The Haitian say he don't have nowhere to go. The Bahamian man say this is the only place he knows that is home. Huh?
Yes.
Make it make sense, Brother Sidney.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that
Make
needs
it
to
make
make
sense.
sense. Yeah, but they ain't making
And
no
we
sense.
don't know if all of these people inside of there is they are Bahamian.
They ain't no
Because
Bahamian.
nobody's checking. Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
I agree. Yeah.
Thanks, Brother
Yeah,
Sid.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Um, Bahamians, we got all kind of problems, you know. The roof at R.M. Bailey fall in. The roof of the proposed shelter in Abaco fall in. What does that tell you? What are the people in there? What kind of structures are we putting up in this country? Do the inspectors know what they're doing? Maybe they don't know what they're doing. So what happened? I mean, everything just breaking down. Is that the way we're going to be running the country? The flooding, the tremendous amount of water that fall on New Providence. I mean, it is very, very serious. We got some serious problems. Flooding. And someone mentioned if a Hurricane 5 would hit New Providence, what would happen? Where are we going to go? Where are you going to evacuate all these people on New Providence? Because everybody want to come to New Providence. So all them people in Grand Bahama, they want to come here. They want a better way of life. So everybody crowding up on New Providence. Then you have people from the other family islands coming to New Providence. Everybody crowding up over here. Taking up our space. Those of us from New Providence. This is our space. You're born in Grand Bahama, that's your space. You in Abaco, that's your space. You're born in Cat Key, wherever you're born, that's your space. That's why we have the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We have the islands of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. God didn't intend for everybody to be clinging to one island 21/7. That's why He gives us more islands. We have to develop them and improve them and so on. But what if a Category 5 would have hit New Providence? And it's cause for concern. People are very much concerned. I heard someone ask that on another talk show, but there was no answer from the host. I'm going to pray that we don't have a Category 5 to hit New Providence. It would be disastrous. We still don't know how many died from Hurricane Dorian, which hit Grand Bahama and Abaco 5 years ago. We still don't know. We don't have any accurate information on how many houses were destroyed, how many businesses were affected. Now they quote one figure about 3 billion, 3 point something billion worth of destruction. I don't know how accurate that is from some international entity. And this happened with Abaco and Grand Bahama. It sat over Grand Bahama for 2 days, 48 hours. And it did tremendous damage in Abaco as well. So what are we going to do if it sits over New Providence for 7 days? What do you think would happen? Let's pray that doesn't happen, because we wouldn't want the kind of disaster. Because if you couldn't handle what happened in Grand Bahama and New Providence, Grand Bahama and Abaco, you can't handle New Providence. It shows you that the authorities that you have running your national affairs are very inefficient. That's what it means. All you have to do is look at the record, Bahamians. I keep saying that all the time. And people come up talking about they can grade them A, B, C, or whatever grade they want to put on them. But all you have to do is look at the record. What was done in a particular constituency over the last 51 years? It had a representative. So what happened? What was done by the national government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas over the last 51 years, in addition to concerning the national problems that we have? Let me make sure I get it right now. You know if any would have been solved? And what are the benefits that come to you as a result of these major constituency and these major national problems having been solved? That's what I'm looking at. Because if you ain't solving nothing, why the heck are we going to keep electing you to keep wasting our time for the next 51 years? You explain that to me. Like the caller said, make it make sense. What's the point, Bahamians? You look at the widespread in the last 2 elections. One got 35. The next one got 32. And 2 of them still playing games. with the Bahamian people. Bahamians, we got some serious problems. Look at the particular personalities you send to do your national affairs. Look what's happening in Grand Bahama. They ain't recovered yet from Dorian and Francis. Francis and Jane, those two back all the way early in the year. I hear the music in the background. The man tell me I got to shut up. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. Canadians go back to Canada. We can't keep taking any and everybody who want to come here. We're very limited on space, not because we got several islands out there. Those islands are our people. You don't give them away to these people to say they could come and flood them up. Come on, Bahamians. We got to think about our own indigenous population. You flood the place up with all kinds of strangers and foreigners and aliens and outside speaking them funny things. Your country get all mixed up. So it poses a problem. So we have to get serious about where we're going, what we're going to do, and how we're going to make it happen. Of course, I have my special guest here. I didn't introduce him yet, Mr. Dwayne Hyler. Dwayne Hyler, welcome to Global Radio Network 99.5. Express yourself.
Good day, Professor. It's always good to be in your company. And
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think you may not realize how serious I am, but I'd rather sit around the table right here in Global 99.5 than around the parliamentary table if it is not operating according to the Constitution of the Bahamas.
But that's what's important.
Yeah, I cannot.
See, God
Yeah.
says, ever learning and never coming to the knowledge of the
Yeah,
truth.
it's very serious.
That's why I said things
Yes.
need to be discussed openly, live, so that
Mhm.
everybody could hear. I ain't sitting going behind no closed doors. All them funny things be happening behind closed doors.
Understood.
Now,
Understood.
when the people could hear them live on air,
Mhm.
they hear what Professor has to say, they hear what the other fella has to say, or the other team has to say, no problem. And they could record it, they could take the pictures, they got my picture, they got my voice, everything that I say, everything what they say, bang.
Mhm.
So ain't gonna be no confusion as to this report, that. So we ain't going through that foolishness.
That's the key. No confusion.
That's the key, yes, because they will
yes.
hear it themselves.
Mhm.
So I don't believe in no closed door meeting. I want it open, live on air. If it's not on global radio,
You don't believe in what they call the quorum?
no man, I don't believe in that crap.
You don't believe in that?
No.
Where the
I
ministers
want the people
Mm.
to hear it because
Mhm.
it's the people's business. Them private meeting and thing, any kind of funny things will be
well,
happening.
let's make sure the public understands what some of these meetings are all about, because our government does use that vehicle in and of itself. It is not a bad thing, but when you go into a private meeting and you cannot express what is in the best interest of your constituency, and anybody is free to call in and correct me if I am out of turn or
Yeah,
out of
okay.
order.
No problem.
But if I am a member of parliament for a particular constituency
yes,
and you call me into a quorum, into a meeting, and if I come to the meeting and say that there's too much flooding in my constituency, and you tell me that, well, I'm free to express myself in the meeting,
yes.
but I'm not free to express myself to the public, to my constituents, that is what is happening when we talk about voting along party lines, Professor.
Is that constitutional?
It is not.
So then you just throw it out. It's not
But-
and void.
But it is guiding our country today while you and I are speaking, Professor.
I understand that, but it's not constitutionally sound. Do the
W-
people
it-
understand that?
If a party votes in a particular direction, every member is expected to vote the way the leader
Let me
is
give you-
voting.
Let me give you a simple example. You go to St. Barnabas Church, right?
Mhm.
You work to BTC.
Mhm.
When you go to BTC, you just tell them people using St. Barnabas Church.
No.
So what the heck you telling me about party? Parliamentary representation has to do with what? Representing the people of a particular constituency. What is the job of a government? What is the government supposed to be doing? The Constitution tells you that. There's nothing in the Constitution to talk about any party, except the fact that parties can exist. When it comes to running the country, running the national affairs of the Bahamian people, I ain't checking for no party. Just like you go to BTC, I don't have to know you go to St. Barnabas Church or the Anglican Church or some other church. So what are you bringing that up for?
Mhm.
So what is the job of a parliamentary representative? The Bahamian people need to get that straight once and for all. Number two, what is the job of the government of the Bahamas? To do what? I couldn't give a hang what party you belong to. Now, okay, let me put it this way. You see the wide swing we had? 35-4, 32-7. That's the way the electorate went in the last two general elections. So what does that tell you? You gave these particular individuals the authority, full-fledged, no opposition, none whatsoever. So why they can't solve the problem? What's stopping them?
Well, no opposition is unconstitutional to have no opposition.
Here is what's unconstitutional. You have the opposition.
Not only in body, but not in mind.
No, but listen now, listen. See, if the electorate made that decision, we respect it. Okay? Is it the right thing to do? With these wide swing, you give that 135 in one election, then the next one come, you give the next 132? What does that tell you? What does that tell you about the electorate of this country? What is going through their mind? See, the evidence is right in front of you, and I think we're ignoring it. We already see it is not working.
Or maybe we're not understanding it.
But that may be so too. I ain't got no problem with that part. I believe there's a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
The electorate needs to understand that there are specific things spelled out in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas that has to do with governance. Now, it does talk about political parties, but parties can exist. Too much into that crap. All I am saying is when it comes to the governance of the country, that's a whole horse of a different color. Just like you go to St. Barnabas Church, but you work to BTC. And when you go to BTC, you don't tell them I'm a member of St. Barnabas Church. So what the heck I need to understand you from a political party? So what? What does that do for me? Nothing. And it is the duty of the representative to do what? To deal with those problems. You say the flooding in your area? Okay, good. Well, we got all kind of flooding on New Providence now. So much so the people are scared if we were to have a Hurricane 5 hit New Providence, where they can evacuate to? Who can evacuate them? Where we supposed to go? To Andros? You got the shelter in Abaco where they're supposed to be building. The roof fall right in. Boom. What if the people were in there?
Yeah.
Someone could have been killed. So I'm saying that we have persons in charge in this country, like one of our guests said the other day about Grand Bahama. You got people in charge who ain't know what they're doing. We got people running the national affairs of this country who don't know what they're doing. They're making trouble for the Bahamian people. Go ahead.
I believe it's true that many do not know what they are doing. And I believe that there's another group that know just what they're doing, but the public don't understand that they're doing harmful things to their own people.
Okay, all right. Now, I'm not going to disagree with that. But you have the hardcore. You mean to tell me these intelligent electorate people cannot see that what's happening to them is harmful to them? You mean they can't understand that?
Some of it
these
is hidden.
Intelligent people?
No, some of it is hidden.
Is it?
That's why, let me give you the example.
Okay, give me an example, yeah.
This East and West End agreement. Who has seen it? It apparently governs who has the regulatory control in Grand Bahama. Who has seen it? Now we are digging into it. You, your team, me, my team, because of recent occurrences.
Yes.
We are looking into the Hawksbill Creek Agreement.
Yes.
That is published in a few different places. That's published on the Bahamian government website. It's also published on the website of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. So the Hawksbill Creek Agreement is readily accessible. Over 100 pages. All of them are right there. But if another agreement was signed, let's say by Prime Minister at the time, Mr. Hubert Ingram, we don't know what he signed in this East-West agreement, where in the same year, we established the Public Utilities Commission. That's the authority on behalf of the people. That's the Bahamian constitutionally founded authority, the Public Utilities Commission.
Yeah, I know about that, yeah.
Okay, so
Now that is replaced with IRCA, right?
That has been replaced with IRCA.
Okay.
So somewhere the older people would say, but it's too much slip between the cup and the lip.
Okay.
Now, the original Public Utilities Commission was tightly wrapped up along with the Constitution of the Bahamas.
Okay.
Now, when the law for IRCA was established, why would the Bahamian government, why would Prime Minister Hubert Ingram sign? And we haven't seen it yet, so I'm not making any accusations at this time. But what I'm saying is,
So how do we know about any East-West agreement if we haven't seen
well, we only hear it in the newspapers. We only see the Tribune say we are understanding
Is
that
it
an
in the
agreement.
Gazette? Is it in the Gazette?
I looked through 1993, Professor.
Mhm.
I'm one of your students.
Okay.
I looked through the Gazette for statutory law
Yes.
for 1993. I have not found it
Haven't found anything.
on the government website
Okay.
that is supposed to report all of the gazetted statutory
Right, statutory
laws.
laws. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So all I saw was civil aviation. I saw laws related to professional accountants
Okay.
was handled in that same year. So we have like up to 15 pieces of legislation,
Okay.
but I couldn't find nothing related to no utilities regulation, and I did not find anything related to the Port Authority, nothing related to the Public Utilities Commission.
Okay.
Just to slow down for a moment, what I'm saying is, recently we heard our Prime Minister of today
Yeah.
say there's only one government.
Yes, he did say that.
And he's saying in Grand Bahama is only one government, there's only one authority. That's what he said.
Okay.
But the truth is, did our government give the right to set price of electricity and other utilities to the Port Authority?
Okay. That's a fair question.
Why don't we know? Why isn't it clear that, well, okay, IRCA is the authority, or the Port Authority is the authority with the right to control the prices of electricity and other utilities?
Okay.
So now we heard Mr. Pintard, we spoke of opposition.
Yeah.
Mr. Pintard said, well, first he said, the Port Authority
Yes.
is the authority.
Yes.
I don't know where you get that from,
Okay.
but he said it's the Port Authority. Maybe that's why the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Philip Davis would have made the comment, rather insulting, but he called Mr. Pentard a water boy for the Port Authority.
Okay. Yeah.
And the thing is, I believe both of them are playing games because the problem of authority is a problem of law.
Yes.
Why is nobody discussing law, especially a lawyer?
Okay.
The Prime Minister is a lawyer by profession.
Okay.
Why has he not referred to any law? And I am very concerned that we have another matter that there's a conflict in Grand Bahama over. It's not just the utilities regulation and
Okay.
Grand Bahama Power. There's also the matter of monies owed. How much money is owed by the Port Authority?
Okay.
There's an agreement that as the Bahamian government spends or covers the cost of employees, their housing, whatever is paid
Okay.
out, the government of the Bahamas is to be reimbursed by the Port Authority. That's
Okay.
the agreement.
Okay.
The port has no taxes. It's a tax-free exercise. So why is there a discrepancy? How much you are to pay the public treasury?
Okay.
Now it came down to, we don't owe you nothing. How it get-
That's what the fellas say.
he said, we don't owe you
No,
anything.
nothing. Yeah, that's what they say.
And the
yeah.
maximum per, I think they're saying, and this is still, we're not even talking about a lot of money. We're talking about $357 million over 5 years. That is for Grand Bahama,
Yeah, Grand Bahama.
the pearl, the jewel of the Caribbean. supposed to be the grandest island, not by size, but outside of New Providence, that is our largest population.
Yeah.
Until Abaco surpass them, or until our foreign immigration, that's another matter. But back to Grand Bahama, Professor, I'm
Okay.
very concerned that we have two major issues that came up this year.
Yes.
One being, who is the authority in Grand Bahama? Who's the ultimate authority related to utilities regulation?
Yes.
And there's a matter of outstanding money. It's like nobody won't pay this government. The hotels say they don't have no money, or they're not paying. The Port Authority saying maximum $200 million per year. And let me get to this point.
Okay.
Now, Professor, you always like for me to have the, whatever article
Yes, of
is
course.
to be stated.
Yes.
You always like us to have that on hand.
Yes.
Let me just mention now too. I have one more statement to make, but the producers are letting us know that our other guest is on standby as well, out of Grand Bahama,
Okay.
and we have a phone call as well.
Okay, we'll take the
So-
phone call, and then after that, we'll bring that particular personality in.
Okay,
Okay.
the caller.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor, and your guest.
Yes.
I've been listening to the show now for about 2 months, and I must continue to encourage y'all to do the work that y'all are doing, because it is
Okay, thank
opening
you.
my eyes to somebody who thought I knew a lot.
Yeah.
Opening my eyes to some new things. But I'm calling from Grand Bahama, and
Oh, good. I
I'm going
appreciate
to
that.
go based on what has been passed around as public knowledge. I can't say that it is in the Hospital Peace Agreement, but what I do know, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, some years ago, let me backtrack. They are responsible for power in Grand Bahama or in the Freeport area. One time ago, their name was actually Freeport Power before they changed it to Grand Bahama Power.
Okay.
They're responsible under the Hospital Creek Agreement to provide utility, that utility service. When they sold the power company to the Canadian company that's now running it, they became the regulators of the power company.
Okay. How did they become the regulator?
Again, I'm speaking, I can't say that the Hospital Creek Agreement gives them this power, but again, they were responsible for the power distribution, and when they sold it, they became the regulators. I can tell you that much.
Okay. So now, with the power, is this just for Freeport itself or the entire Grand Bahama?
No, they changed when they changed the name from Freeport Power to Grand Bahama. They provide power throughout the entire island of Grand Bahama.
That's what they're supposed to be doing now?
They provide the power from east end to west end, so that includes the Freeport area that that the Port Authority is responsible for, and the area that the government is responsible for, being east end, west end, and then some of the other smaller communities within the general Freeport area.
I'm listening to you, but I'm not clear yet. Are you saying to me the Grand Bahama Port Authority, as you know it now, according to what your information is responsible for the power, the electrical power for the entire Grand Bahama area?
Yes,
Okay.
there's one power company in the whole of Grand Bahama. The Grand
Okay.
Bahama Port Authority, the Grand Bahama Power Company distributes power to the entire island of Grand Bahama.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Now I understand. Okay. Anything else
Now,
you want to add?
what I'm saying is, when the power company was solely under the Port Authority,
Yeah.
that was one thing. But when the Port Authority chose to sell the power company to, I am not certain if it's still run or managed by the Emera Group from Canada.
Okay. I heard about the
The
American.
Port Authority then became the regulators of the power company. So anytime there is a price hike or anything like that, they apply to the Port Authority.
Okay. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Are you finished, caller?
Yes, I'm finished. I'll have
okay.
to This is
Well,
an important.
I appreciate this information because I'm learning some things, and I'm happy that you called from Grand Bahama. We have someone else from Grand Bahama who's going to be coming online, and we're going to hear some information from that particular individual. But thank you very much for your information. I appreciate it a whole lot.
No problem.
Okay,
Definitely.
all right.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Producer, please bring on Brother Victor. Pastor Eddie Victor, I am sorry about the delay, but thank you very much for uh, accepting the invitation to come on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your show today, and it is an honor for me to be able to share
Yes,
with you and the listening audience concerning Grand Bahama. Grand
yes,
Bahama has been my home all my life.
yes,
I love this island, and as a pastor who has been actively in the community advocating for change in our community. Like so many others on Grand Bahama, they love this island, and it's an island that is worth fighting for. And when I
right.
say fighting for, in terms of a cause, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your
Mhm.
introduction. Now, if you can tell us, if you are able to understand, the Grand Bahama Power Company, what is their function as you understand it to be?
Well, the Grand Bahama Power Company, the caller that just spoke, did articulate the facts that the Grand Bahama Power Company provides electricity for the entire island.
Okay,
Now, just to give more clarity to what he said concerning the history of the development of the power company on the island,
okay,
by the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, um, we must remember it was signed in 1955.
yes,
This is before um, independence, and this would have been done under the UBP government.
yes,
And when that agreement was signed, it was during a period of time in the history of this country where the country did not have the resources to develop the out islands.
okay,
The In fact, I believe if I got the facts right, in 1955 there may have been a total of 8,000 people on the island of Grand Bahama.
okay,
So what you had was a company that said to the government, "Give us this free zone, and we will develop it." And so the government then, in the agreement, gave extraordinary powers to the Port Authority.
right,
Um, Powers, you have to understand, at that time, our government was not in a position to to develop Grand Bahama or really any other out island. And so it was a unique agreement because what it sparked was significant development in one area of the Bahamas. So where Nassau um, developed and grew into a city over hundreds of years,
okay,
Freeport was birthed the city by the Hawksbill Creek Agreement. So with that agreement, it developed a free trade zone, along with the fact that they were responsible for putting in infrastructure,
okay,
uh, which we're talking about utilities, electricity, water, cable, television. Really, the first functioning cable television company was here in Grand Bahama,
yeah, I
uh,
agree with that. Yes,
right? And they put in a telephone system. They paved roads.
yeah,
In fact, Freeport is a organized zone city. You have residential areas, you have commercial areas, you have light industry areas, you have heavy industrial areas, you have tourist commercial areas. Everything is zoned, and so they put in a city infrastructure which, compared to the rest of the Bahamas, was really first class.
Okay.
There was no other place in the Bahamas that could compare with what was being done in Freeport.
Okay.
And so, which took a massive amount of investment that our government did not have at the time. And obviously there was a vision to the city. So they're developing this city because they're attracting investors, attracting people to come to the city. And so with those powers, you got to remember in those early days, when it came to policemen and other necessary government personnel,
Yes.
the Port Authority had to make sure they were in place. You hear what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So because
Now hold on, Pastor. You said when they were in place. What does that mean? Were they separate
that
and
means
apart from what's happening in the rest of the country?
yeah, we actually had a police force that was funded by the Port Authority, and police. They were police from other territories in the British colony that actually were here in Grand Bahama. You
Okay.
see, so you got to remember the country did not have the financial resources to expand the way that Freeport needed to be expanded in that era, in that time. You know,
Okay.
one of the things that when you look at history, you have to look at what was going on in that period at that time.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question then. Are you
Yeah,
saying to me that the Port Authority had under its control its own police force?
it had a police force that had to be paid for by the Port Authority.
Okay, that was separate and apart from what the police for the rest of the country.
No, they worked. No, they were a part of the police force, but you have to understand they were funded by the Port Authority.
Okay, they were part of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Is that what you
Yes,
said?
yes,
Okay,
yes. It
all right.
wasn't a
Okay,
separate police. That's
okay,
not,
fair enough.
let's not
Okay, I
get
just
confused
wanted
with
to
that.
get that
But
clarified.
but what happens is that um, um, because the Port Authority was doing all of this
Yeah.
massive work,
Okay.
they were required to make sure that vital government officials were in place, and
Okay.
they would have to fund it. You see, so in those early days, that's how it was. It
Okay.
was a developing jurisdiction, and obviously since um, 1955 to now, and especially after majority rule and then subsequently independence,
Independent. Yeah.
um, our country has developed significantly.
Okay.
And so what you're seeing happening now, a lot of it has to do with an agreement that it has evolved over decades, and obviously with so much passage of time, there is a requirement that you have to make adjustments, because the era of 1955 is not the era of 2024.
I
It's a
agree with that.
different time period.
Sure. Yeah.
And so there are different factors that are affecting this agreement that must be taken into consideration.
Okay.
And so going back to the power company, the caller said something which is true, and I want to just give you more information on it. Is the fact
Okay.
that the power company began as a division of the Port Authority because it was a part of their responsibility to provide infrastructure. So you had the power company, you had the water company, you had these other entities that were originally began under the Port Authority. And
Okay.
so what you saw over time is that these utilities were separated from the Port Authority. And in the case of the power company, it began as a division of the Port Authority. Then it became incorporated as Freeport Power Company. And
Okay.
then the name was changed to Grand Bahama Power Company. And now, over the passage of time, we've gone from where a power company was being ran by the Port Authority,
Okay.
is now being run by a Canadian company called Emera.
So let
Um,
me ask you this. Is this also a part of the agreement where it was a division under the Grand Bahama Port Authority, but now it became something else where it became a separate entity? Is that also a part of the agreement?
uh, I think there lies a legal argument because the agreement gives the Port Authority the responsibility for ensuring that there's power generation in Freeport.
Okay.
And so what happens now is what they have done is that they have divested themselves of any interest in the power company. And now, where we have the power company owned 100% by Emera, and Emera now is a licensee of the Port Authority that's being regulated by the Port Authority.
Okay. So now I just want to get this straight. First, they started out as a division. See, I'm trying to figure out if, according to the agreement, that they had the authority to do what they did with those entities becoming separate and apart from the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Is that
And
correct?
and what I'm going to say to you is that is where there are legal questions that need to be answered. All
Okay.
right. Okay.
Okay. I,
Right at that spot that you're talking
right.
about.
Okay. But I'm glad that you said it because you have an agreement and they ought to be operating according to the agreement. Now, you said, of course, some legal, well, of course, there will be legal ramification if that is
Yeah.
what happened. And apparently that is what happened. And I'm trying to figure out, was that according to the agreement, the original agreement of the Grand Bahama Port? I mean, the Hawksbill Creek Agreement,
Yeah. You see, and so the
as
question
you
does
as
come.
you would understand it.
Yeah, the question comes in. The question I must be asked, and
Yes.
you stated it, is that does the Hawksbill Creek Agreement give them the right to do
Ah,
that?
good. Oh,
Right?
Pastor, I got to stop you right there because we got to
Yeah.
go to a break.
Okay.
Stay on the line. Don't go nowhere.
I'm not
This
going
is
anywhere.
Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We're getting some clarity on this the Hawksbill Creek Agreement from Pastor Eddie Victor. He has been in Grand Bahama all the time, so he knows what's going on down there. But we need to have some clarity. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
we will come to you. When it comes to complete termite eradication, there's only one name you can call on. Rentokil Initial. Call us at 322-2157.
From Cable Beach to Montague, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I think today is the third day of September. This is my birth month. I got to tell you now, I ain't looking for my birthday present for September the 18th. I can talk about that a little later. But we have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, please cut your radio off and get on.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I am talking to you.
Okay. Let me cut my radio off.
Please.
Your voice is so low. I didn't know if you were talking to me or not. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Okay. I'm calling in reference to the gentleman a little earlier that was talking about the Aaron Bailey roof falling in and something else on one of the out islands.
Yeah, the whole roof falling.
Yes, and something else on, I think, Abaco.
The shelter, yeah, Abaco, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking about the inspector, let me tell you something, Professor.
Yes,
I'm not a gossiper. I'm not a liar. While I was waiting for my government home, I used to come down in here a lot because I knew which number was my own.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was standing up talking to the workers, and this vehicle pulled up with some people. So I said, "Who are they?" They say that's the inspectors. And these two eyes would God give me. I watched the contractor hand something to the inspector.
Yes.
And he never came and inspect the homes. And he left. So one of the guys I was familiar with, I said, "What's that about?" He said, "All they got to do is give him some lunch money." I would never forget that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was leaning up to the wall. You know, when they start from the bottom and it's just the cement blocks and you can look down in it?
Yes, ma'am.
I saw one of the workers went and pushed his Kentucky box down in there.
Yes.
And I said to them, he said, they do that all the time. That stays in there. When we first move in these government homes, the termites going to kill you.
Of course.
The homes that people didn't move into immediately, me and two of my neighbors, we used to walk around in the evenings and just go look in the homes. The termites had the wash house in one of the homes on the floor, like dust you could have scooped up with a shovel.
Yes, ma'am.
The inspectors, they don't do their job. Like the guys say, all they got to do is give them some lunch money and they go.
Yes, ma'am.
That is why this is happening. The roof's collapsing. The place is not strong enough and all of that. They don't do their job. They just take money and they go.
Yes.
I witnessed that with my own two eyes, what God gave me.
Yes. But I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know if that guy is still listening. If he was wondering why, I could tell him that is why.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't do their job once they get some money in their hand.
That is very sad. What if people were living in that shelter and that whole thing just crashed on them?
Pardon?
What if people were living in that shelter, this Abaco shelter?
Exactly.
That would have been a tragedy. It would have been a disaster.
Yeah. And then they will be talking, but they sorry for and
I can't bring nobody
family
back.
Members and all sort of nonsense.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you.
They condolences and nonsense.
That can't bring nobody back.
Thank you.
But I'm glad that it happened before anybody was in it.
Yes, we have too much slackness
Too
going
much
on
slackness.
in
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Too much slackness. And then, like you say, at people's life risk.
Yeah, at people's lives risk. That is correct.
It's sad. What I just said to you, God, no, I saw with the two eyes what he gave me.
No, I believe everything you say. Because I know what you're saying is true. I have evidence to prove it too.
Yeah. The inspectors, all they do, put something in their hand. And that person, there was three of them.
Yes, ma'am.
And none of them went and inspect because the constituency that I'm in is all cul-de-sac. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 homes in each one of the cul-de-sac. So I was looking to see them go from house to house while it was building. Nothing. Just jump back in their cars and go on.
And you said you're in Abaco, right?
No, this in Grand Bahama.
Oh, Grand Bahama. Oh, okay. All right.
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
I'm in Grand Bahama.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Now, I want to give your name and number to the inspector because I want to talk to you after the show.
I already gave you my number. This is I stand in Sunset Subdivision. You tell me you coming down here soon.
Yes,
Remember where the
ma'am.
murder was at the home?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Once you gave it to him, that would be fine. And I appreciate that because
Okay.
I got a number of them I need to reach, and I'll be in touch with them. But
Okay. I
no,
hope
but
the
we
person
need.
who called in know that what he was saying is
Uh-huh.
true.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
might not have witnessed it like me,
Yeah.
but it might the same thing might have happened with the I went to Aaron Bailey School.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't even is it redone or something?
I don't
Yes.
know. It has been redone,
Yes,
Brother Hyler?
they did using new materials because
Oh.
they took away the material that fell and they
Uh-huh.
brought in new materials and they did repair it, and it seems to be proper now, properly
Oh.
completed.
Notice what he said. It seems to be.
That's another
Boy,
story.
that's another story again. When you hear that roof fall down.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's sad.
No, but it's sad. People's lives are at stake.
Mhm.
Yes.
You can't talk about you so sorry, and people
Yes.
have dead people to go bury.
Well, first, some people's lives are at stake in plenty areas in this
Yes,
Bahamas.
ma'am. That is true. But there's something we can do about it. See,
Yes,
that's
those
the thing about
inspectors
it.
do not do their job.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
But I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you very much for your
Okay,
call.
take care.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Pastor Victor. Pastor Victor, you still on the line? Eddie Victor.
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Pastor, you can come back in. And then, of course, I got Dwayne Hyler here. He's going to talk to you. But continue from where we left off. Because I asked you about the agreement itself. Did the agreement give the Grand Bahama Port Authority the authority to divest themselves of these particular entities that were part of it?
Yes,
Under
and
what authority they were acting when they did that?
well, again, that's where legal questions arise.
Okay, fair enough.
And okay, on that whole issue. All
Okay.
right, because what you would have seen over decades, it's been years of where they have divested certain areas, and also where taken from under the Port Authority. You have these entities that were formed.
Yes.
Example is the power companies, now Grand Bahama Power Company. The water company is now the Grand Bahama Utility Company.
Wow.
You have a company that handles service charges for several what you call it, residential areas
Yes.
throughout Grand Bahama. So there is the Port Authority and what is referred to as the Port Group of Companies.
Okay.
The Harbor Company that handles the harbor, and the Grand Bahama Airport Company that handled the airport
Wow.
before it was sold. Or
Oh,
so you have all these group of companies where various assets were put under, and there are some legal questions that do arise from the way that was done.
because what's going to happen now is you're going to have things operating totally differently, and it's going to have an effect on the people of Grand Bahama because of
Yeah,
the different entities that are now coming up as separate and apart from the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
yeah. And the most notable one is what happened with the power company.
Okay.
Because not only did it become 100% Bahamian owned, I mean, sorry, it became 100% foreign owned.
Foreign owned, yes.
The ownership of Bahamians, the Bahamians were forced to sell their shares to make way for the 100% takeover by Amera, a Canadian company.
Okay. Brother Hyler?
Yes, Pastor Victor, let me just say that we must commend you for your commitment to Grand Bahama, for your commitment to the Bahamas. And even though I had heard your name before, this is only the second time I'm speaking to you. My name is Dwayne Hyler, and
Pleasure.
never meeting in person, but over these airwaves and over the phone, your name has rung out in the Bahamian community. I've heard your name before. I was aware of your work in Grand Bahama, but only casually aware of the work that you were doing. So to know that it goes back, I mean, in the Tribune, we can see like 2010, 2011, 2012, but of course on the ground, you would have been working much longer than that.
Yeah.
But this is a long-standing problem whereby you've been agitating for more fairness, really, more fairness, and you've compelled or at least asked the government to basically to check or to make sure that there's more fairness in the rates that are being charged, because Grand Bahama, for all these years, has been um, the highest rates are being charged to Grand Bahamians.
Yeah.
And this is even in the wake of Dorian, which is very surprising. So even within the last 5 years, Grand Bahama apparently continues to be the place that the highest electricity rates would be charged. Um, and so I'm just reading here that your work includes community activism,
Yes.
food and clothes distribution,
Yes. Correct.
teaching and training seminars,
Yes.
leadership conferences,
Yes.
and also involved with economic and social development programs,
Yes.
and then
Okay.
also religious tourism.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Pastor and Brother
Yeah,
Hyla, I
we
believe we
have
have
a
a call
call.
on the
Mhm.
line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon again. I just called a while ago about the information on the power company. What I
Yes.
want to add to that is it even goes to the extent of the Grand Bahama Port Authority having what you call Freeport bylaws, and that is laws that has even been used to prosecute residents for stuff such as extraction of or illegally extracting electricity in Grand Bahama. So there's a lot that's happening in Grand Bahama.
Okay, so bylaws.
Yeah,
So-
I query that.
So-
I don't know if Pastor Victor knows anything about the proposed. Well, what he said were bylaws. Pastor?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah. There do exist bylaws.
What does that? What is a bylaw? What does that mean?
Well. Basically, there are various laws which governs particularly utilities, and so with the establishment of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, there were bylaws relative to utilities, relative to properties, and all of this is a part of organizing the city. You see, but I think you have um, identified an area of concern, because what originally was established with how the way the power company operated in its inception is not operating the same way now.
Right. So now, with these bylaws, according to agreement, that would only be in effect as long as they were divisions of the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
Well,
Is that the understanding?
well,
Or that's not clear?
they only apply within the city limits of Freeport. Okay.
Okay.
Let's keep in mind that there are city limits. There is East Grand Bahama, and then you have a number of settlements that are surrounded by the city of Freeport. Those
Okay.
settlements being Pinders Point, Lewis Yard, Hunters, Mactown, Williamstown, Smiths Point, and Maidatown. Those settlements are surrounded by the city of Freeport.
But the understanding now is, Pastor, is that the Grand Bahama Power Company is responsible for providing electricity to all of Grand Bahama. Is that the understanding?
Yes, that is. And
So do those bylaws apply beyond the city limits?
If I understand how everything functions, only to a certain degree. And when I say that, once you go outside the city of limits of Freeport, you are now dealing with the Ministry of Works. All right. But what has happened is agreements that have been drawn up with the government and the Port Authority gave certain rights to the power company. Let's make reference to a very important agreement that was drawn up under the first administration of the FNM, when the FNM first came into power. The then Prime Minister Hubert Ingram made an agreement. The government made an agreement with the Grand Bahama Power Company to charge the same rates that it charges in the city of Freeport to West and East Grand Bahama, outside the city of Freeport. Now, before that, there used to be higher rates charged outside of Freeport compared to those who live in Freeport.
Okay.
And there was a time when there was a separate power generation in the West, West Grand Bahama, and to some degree East Grand Bahama. Those were decades ago. But what the power company did and what the government allowed was for the power to be distributed to the entire island, because the power plant was a very, very reliable supply of power.
Okay.
And so at one time, I can't say that now, but at one time, we could say that we had the best infrastructure as far as electricity in the Bahamas.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, we could boast that, but with the recent over the years, with these increases in rates, Mr. Hyler accurately stated something. We are paying the highest base rates of electricity in the Bahamas. All right. Now, I'm not talking about the fuel surcharges. I'm talking about the base rate. That every time electricity is generated, this is the rate that is charged. And so what the power company is trying to do now is they're trying to increase that base rate. What we've been advocating for over 10 years. In 2013, we launched our campaign and established an organization called the Coalition of Concerned Citizens.
Okay.
And we have been advocating from September 2013 for the cost of electricity to be reduced on Grand Bahama.
Okay.
We have not seen a reduction in electricity. All we have seen is where this company continues to try to increase the cost of electricity.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. You said about the government of the Bahamas in 1992, when this new administration came into effect, they made an agreement with the Grand Bahama Power Company.
Yes.
Do you know what that agreement entails?
Okay, that agreement was actually executed in 1993.
1993.
It is referred to as the West-End East-End Agreement between the government and the Grand Bahama Power Company. And this agreement, and at the time, there was great wisdom with that agreement. That agreement, Prime Minister Hubert Ingram wanted to equalize the cost of electricity across the island.
Okay.
He didn't want to see persons paying more for electricity outside of Freeport than those who are paying for electricity in Freeport.
Okay.
So the agreement equalized the cost of electricity across the island. So no matter where you're living, you're paying the same rate of electricity. If you have to put down a power pole, it will cost the same in Freeport as it would cost in outside of Freeport.
So let me ask you this question now. You did mention about the Ministry of Works. So the Ministry of Works was not involved from the time this agreement was signed in the electricity of Grand Bahama? Because you mentioned about the Ministry of Works.
Yeah. Because, for instance,
so what role they were playing? I mean, up from that time up to now.
Okay. For instance, if you construct a new home outside of Freeport, the Ministry of Work would have to do all the inspections, and ensure that it meets all the required codes in the Bahamas. And then once it gets to the point where there is going to be an installation of an electrical meter,
Yes.
then a representative from the power company would come to inspect the home to make sure that everything is ready to receive the meter. But before the meter is installed, the Ministry of Works must pass the inspections for that home, making sure that it passed, the electrical, the plumbing, the structural requirements are met, and then the power company would just make sure that that the building is in a position to receive electrical service.
Okay, fair enough. Now I understand the distinction. Okay, all right, Pastor. That's an excellent explanation. Brother Hiley, you have any further comments you want to?
Yes,
Yeah.
a comment that I want to make. Pastor Victor, I am looking at one of your press statements right now,
Yes.
going back to 2013 when you launched the
Yes.
Coalition of Concerned Citizens.
Yes.
So, as you would recall, I'm just going to read it for the general public. Members of your organization were basically, you were protesting a 3-cent increase in back then.
Yes.
And what you came out to say was what Grand Bahama needs is a 3-cent decrease, the opposite,
Exactly.
in order to save families. And you said this would equate to about $24 a month or $288 per year, which would be very significant.
Yeah.
And I just want to read from your words here now.
Okay.
You are indicating that you all held this press conference in the front of the Landau Beach Resort to demonstrate.
That was the Xanadu Beach Resort. Yes.
Xanadu. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So you were indicating that the high power rate contributed to the closure of this once historical vacation site,
That's correct.
where some 100 persons were put out of work.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're saying that this had also disadvantaged not only businesses and hotels, but families, and it was crippling the operation of many businesses on Grand Bahama.
Right. And that was happening back then.
From then,
It's more so now.
it's more so now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another quote from you: Grand Bahama is under bondage to high electricity rates,
Correct.
and it is time for citizens and businesses on the island to be set free.
That's correct.
That's a quote from you back then. And I noticed that in preparing for today's conversation, from 2012, 2013, 2015, 2017, you were repeatedly back at the forefront of this fight. Every other year, you appear to be addressing these rate increases.
Yeah.
And sadly, these rate increases were being allowed.
Yeah.
Over and over, these rate increases were allowed, even though you were indicating to those in authority that it was having a devastating impact on families and the business community.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, we got in Grand Bahama, what needs to happen is that there must be a unified approach to developing this island. And when I say unified, the citizens, the businesses, the government, the Port Authority must be united in how they deal with this island. The Port Authority may have begun as a development company that came to develop a place that wasn't developing. They put in infrastructure that didn't exist. And in the initial establishment of the Port Authority, this was a tremendous economic development for the Bahamas. But what we have to consider is that in the development of the island, when you go back over the decades, particularly Freeport, you will see that the economy would get so far and then it would regress backwards. It uh, a term that's used for Freeport is that Freeport would boom and bust, boom and bust. Now, just to give you an idea, just so that I want you to visualize this. In the late 80s, Grand Bahama was celebrating, Ministry of Tourism, Grand Bahama Promotion Board, they were celebrating that 1 million tourists came to Grand Bahama in 1 year. This is in Grand Bahama. And those weren't mostly cruise ship passengers. These were people that were flying into the island and they were staying on the island. They what you call the stopovers, or you want to call them the nights, the beds and rooms, and these were people that were staying on the island, and it was reflective in our history. And when I say this, we had hotels that were full to capacity, and these hotels do not exist today.
Wow.
Let me. I'm going to give you. I looked at this very closely. I jotted it down. Hotels. Firstly, the very first major hotel on the island wasn't in Freeport. It was in West End, the Grand Bahama Hotel, or the Jacta Hotel.
You heard about it.
That hotel had great economic impact in West Grand Bahama. Many people on this island today can look back in the history of their life to say whether their parents worked there or they themselves worked there as a young person. And so that hotel closed down, no longer exists. The Royal Oasis Country Club, which is right next to the once famous International Bazaar. And you should know what's happening with the International Bazaar. It's
Right.
no longer exists. It's just ruins. The Royal Oasis Country Club used to be packed with people. It's closed. The Royal Oasis Towers used to be packed with people. It's closed. The Xanadu Hotel used to be packed with people. Closed. Royal Palm Hotel closed. Breakers Key, which is a part of the Grand Lucayan properties, one of their properties, Breakers Key, the largest amount of rooms, that's closed. What used to be Memories, that's closed. That's a part of the Grand Lucayan property. There was a hotel known as the Arawak Hotel, that's gone. All right. Freeport Inn, that's gone. Shalimar Hotel, that's gone. Silver Sands Hotel, that's gone. Port Lucaya Resort and Yacht Club, that's gone. Now, Freeport Inn, Shalimar Hotel, Silver Sands Hotel, Port Lucaya Resort and Yacht Club, these are 4 hotel properties that used to exist, were full. These hotel properties have been demolished. And when I say they're gone, they are gone. There's no more buildings.
Wow.
All right. And so I just gave you a total of 12 hotels. 12 hotels on one island. On one island.
Wow.
All right. Now there's no other island in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that has had so many hotels that have disappeared.
Yes.
None.
Wow.
And you could start with golf courses. Grand Bahama was known as a golf course destination. Groups used to come in here just to play golf, and come to play golf. You spend money. You get rooms. You have food and beverage. We only have now in operation one 18-hole golf course that is not the best golf course, okay, in the Bahamas.
Okay.
And that's only one operating, but we used to have a total of 6 18-hole golf courses. We now only have one that is not operating to the best, that particularly when you're talking about PGA standard kind of golf courses.
Okay.
And we have a 9-hole golf course that is now closed. That used to be a very popular place for golfers. So that's just that. And we used to have two fully functioning casinos. They no longer exist.
Wow.
I mean, I don't describe the casinos, but they were part of the economy. So what
Yeah,
I'm
they
saying,
were. Yeah, that's true.
they, they,
Definitely.
they no longer exist. Okay.
So, Pastor, what has contributed to all of this decline, man, in the
Well,
hotel?
let me. A part of it is the cost of living.
Wow.
This is why I said there needs to
Pastor,
be
I
a
have to hold
united
you right there
approach.
because we got to go to a break, and I
Okay.
want to continue that trend when we get back. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. The lines are wide open. You can call in 326-0271, 326-0272. We'll be back after the break.
Express yourself live.
until he comes back
Okay,
in.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Brother Highland.
Okay, he's back now. Okay, so Pastor Victor, we're just wondering this East and West agreement, because the understanding that the Hawksbill Creek agreement really only covers the Freeport area originally, and the provision of utility in the Freeport area. But now with this East-West agreement, that responsibility for generating electricity has expanded to the entire island. Have you seen this East-West agreement before?
Yes, I have. Not only, in fact, I got the copy of the agreement from Parliament. All right, and
Okay.
because the agreement was tabled in Parliament, and when the F&M administration came in under Prime Minister Hubert Minnis.
Okay.
30 days after the government changed, we wrote the Prime Minister Minnis, advocating that the government does not renew this agreement with the power company. The agreement was signed in 1993, and it was going to expire in 2018. So the Minnis administration, the F&M, came into power in 2017.
Right.
And so we 30 days after coming into government, we wrote the Prime Minister requesting that this agreement does not be renewed, for the government to intervene into the electricity sector of Grand Bahama.
Okay, Pastor, I just want to put you on hold because I have a call on the line.
Okay.
Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Brother Thomas,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Brother Thompson.
Yeah, go ahead.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Pastor Victor. He talked about the Jack Tower Hotel. This is your favorite call out, Brother Thompson.
Yes.
I used to do a Jonkono show in the Jack Tower Hotel years ago.
Yeah,
Praise the
okay.
Lord.
What I'm learning is that this light company, I was listening to the show, the light company says that they only answer to the Port Authority. They don't answer to the Bahamas government. How does the Bahamas government benefit from that light company that is now in Grand Bahama?
Our caller, the Pastor Victor, mentioned about an East-West agreement that we're hearing about now,
Okay.
which the governor of the Bahamas has signed with this particular company. And he said it was tabled in Parliament. We got to get a copy of that so we can see what that's all about. It was tabled in Parliament. He said, I think around 1993, he said.
That's correct.
When the F&M
1993?
came to power, the F&M came back to power, he said they wrote the Prime Minister asking them not to renew this agreement with the Grand Bahama Power Company.
So what does government get from them?
Okay.
Just the what? That's all government get from them?
Let me let Pastor Victor come in on this because he has.
Okay. Yes, if that's
I'll hang
correct.
up and I'll continue to listen.
Okay, thank you, caller.
Okay. That the caller did nail the facts concerning what the government gets out of it. The government only gets the stamp tax from the electricity that is paid by
what kind of crap is this?
all right. Okay. And so you have to understand how regulation. It's important to understand how regulation works. The regulator normally is the one. If we use the IRCA regime, is the one that approves the licensing of electricity providers.
Okay.
So because the Port Authority is the declared regulator. And what is important to mention is that if you think back to the PLP government under Prime Minister Perry Christie,
Yes.
There was a Hawksbill Creek review that was done, and that was chaired by Dr. Marcus Bethel. And that committee, there was an MOU that was that came out of that committee's review, and that memorandum of understanding was signed between the government and the Port Authority. This
Now this is getting very complicated. We got now two different agreements then.
Technically three, because the East and West agreement is two different agreements.
It is two different agreements now, but I need you to help you. I'm trying to just bring in a concise period of time. Just try to give you a little, I guess, concise background, and we probably have to get into a little deeper on another time. But
yeah, we'll have to.
But when that MOU was signed, a part of what was signed was where the Port Authority had agreed to make sure to align policies in line with the policies of the Bahamas, which included regulation. Now, the agreement was signed in 2016.
Okay.
I think it may have been a month, maybe 2 months after that agreement was signed. The power company and the Grand Bahama Port Authority filed a legal action in the Supreme Court challenging IRCA's right to regulate them.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Because IRCA came into existence. When you look back, it came into existence under the PLP administration.
That's correct.
Under Prime Minister Perry Christie, and so they challenged this in 2016. So 8 years that matter is still in the court. Okay,
Wow.
8 years.
Yeah,
All
that's right
Okay,
up to now.
right?
Yeah.
Because the power company doesn't want IRCA to regulate them. They prefer to deal with the Port Authority. And what is actually happening is that we have a foreign company using the Hawksbill Creek Agreement against the people of the Bahamas. That's what we have actually
Yeah, that's
happening.
profound.
That's profound. Yeah.
All right.
That's profound right there. No,
But
that-
then, Pastor, also the government has said they came up with this agreement, but the Electricity Act that has
Right.
been just come about, where they're saying IRCA has authority to regulate electricity all over the Commonwealth of the Bahamas,
including Freeport.
including Grand
And
Bahama.
it names
and
Freeport in particular.
Yes.
It names Freeport.
2024.
And it's important to understand that the Electricity Act of 2015 established IRCA as the sole regulator for the Bahamas. All right. So this recent Electricity Act reinforces what was done in 2015.
2015.
Okay.
Right. And,
Yeah.
but the difference between the recent legislation is that the Grand Bahama Port Authority is not referred to at all as a regulator. You see?
Yes, that's
And-
correct. Yeah.
And so they were established as the regulator. That's why the power company filed a Supreme Court action along with the Port Authority challenging IRCA's right to regulate them. Now you got to understand, let me go back to the regulatory regime, how it works. It works like this. You pay a license fee to whoever approves the license. So IRCA is the established authority to grant licenses to power providers. And therefore, those power providers pay them license fee.
Yes.
So in this case, the Grand Bahama Power Company is paying a license fee to the Port Authority. And this license fee, based on the information we have, and what is done with large licensees of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, the license fee is based on a percentage of your sales. So the sales of the power company in terms of their electricity rates determines the license fees that are being paid to the Port Authority.
Okay.
All right. So you can see right there, I'm regulating. If I lose this regulation, I lose revenue.
Yeah, you would.
You see?
Definitely.
Okay. And so we believe that this is all of this opposition, and it's all to protect revenue, and but on the backs of the Grand Bahamians.
The Grand
That's right.
Bahamians.
Yes.
Pastor Victor, I became very concerned. And like you said, perhaps we could discuss a follow up with Professor Sidney Thompson here.
Yeah.
But I became very concerned in the midst of all this back and forth this year. Do you realize that the other matter that is being contested in Grand Bahama, over $357 million that the governor of the Bahamas is saying that is due
Yes.
from the Port Authority?
Yes.
Our prime minister initiated a case to retrieve that money, $357 million. But we have not heard where he initiated a case other than this 8-year wait.
Yeah.
If the local court could not resolve the issue, Pastor Victor, I believe that it is of such importance that he should also, in London, he could have at the same time said, you know what? Let's take a look at this Hawksbill Creek and Port Authority situation to resolve this in short order.
Yeah.
For the Grand Bahamian people.
For the Grand Bahamian people, because you see what's affecting us is the cost of living.
Yeah.
Electricity is a primary driver.
What's the
It's
cost
one
of
of the
living?
primary
Yeah.
drivers.
One of the primary.
Cost.
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
You see, and so what and then you keep hearing theories or concepts. Oh, we need critical mass in order to make a difference in pricing. I
Yeah.
believe you need to have creative economic thinking to
Okay.
say, let's bring down the cost of electricity. And when a person looks at moving to Grand Bahama, or when a business or businesses or industry look at coming to Grand Bahama, they can say, you know what? They have lower rates in Grand Bahama. So let's move here.
Right. As
Okay.
it being more attractive. Professor.
It becomes a point of attraction.
Mhm.
But what we've had is the exact opposite.
Okay.
We've had
Pastor,
companies leave because the cost of electricity is too high.
electricity, right. Okay. Pastor, we're going to have to come to the end of the show. We're going to have to get you back on again because
Yes, sir. I'd be
there's-
happy whenever you need me.
we'll be getting in touch with you on it. But how to give your last point before we get off here?
Well, as soon as possible, over the next 2 or 3 days, if you're available, Pastor Victor, we
Okay.
need to go deeper into this, and we need a copy of the East and West Agreement
I'll send
as
it to
soon
you.
as possible.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to come to the end of
Okay.
the show now. This has been Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson. We thank very much Pastor Victor and Brother Hyler for being on the show today. And thank you, callers, for calling in. This has been Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Thank you very much for listening and have a pleasant afternoon.
God bless you.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily